screen time salutations to all you internet dwellers out there, and welcome to another episode of Screen Time Continuum. I am Nick, and I am joined, as always, by the boys. Keelan, what's going on, man?
Not much, not much. Can't complain. Actually, feeling pretty good on this Wednesday. How about yourself?
Can't complain either. Happy hump day, and we got the mustard. Dijon, what's going on, man?
Not much. Just getting through this hump day as well. Hope you're doing well. Both you guys are doing beyond fantastic this night.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're hoping that you guys tuning in are having a wonderful evening, or anytime you're listening to this. We very much appreciate it. Please feel free to leave comments during the live stream. We will do our best to get to them as quickly as possible. But tonight we're going to be talking about the 2003 movie Big Fish, directed by Tim Burton and written by Daniel Wallace and John August. It's starring Ewan McGregor, Albert Finney, Billy Crudup, Jessica Lange, Helena Bonham Carter, and a myriad of other people. We have Danny DeVito, we have Steve Buscemi, Marion Cotillard, and a handful of other people. As I think Dijon pointed out very early on, Miley Cyrus.
Right.
And so I learned that by accident, just to tell you guys the truth.
Oh, fair. That's fair. I had no idea that was her until you said it, and I was like, oh shit, that is her. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so this is we're just going to jump into it. I think that this is a movie that I've seen before, but I wanted to revisit because it's been probably at least 10 years since I've seen it. And I know that Dijon, I don't think you've seen it before, right?
No, I've heard anything. I mean, I've heard nothing but good things about it. Then beyond the movie, I heard there was like some type of TV series created like on MTV.
Oh, okay. I did not know that.
Off of it.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And I didn't touch that at all. So.
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that it's a good one to revisit for sure. This kind of pushes our window a little bit that we were talked about before about the sweet spot of movies in the 2000s. But I just want to jump into it with you guys and get your first impressions, and then we can just start talking about the things that you liked, the things you may have not liked, the stuff that stuck out to you. So let's start with, since Dijon hadn't seen it before, let's start with Dijon. First impressions.
I'm going to do something a little bit out of character tonight. And I'm going to straight out say, first impression, if I'm to rate this movie right then and there, I would give it an 8. I mean, not an 8, an 8.5 off the bat.
Okay.
Start off a little bit slow, but it definitely, I mean, I know this movie came out before The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, but I love that artistic way of storytelling that it did. It was very, it was what Tim Burton was, or probably still is. And it made me like really appreciate his way of being a director, because I feel like I don't get to see that enough from him. Right. And everything else he's ever done is basically like something for Disney or another main studio.
Or it's wacky and weird. Yeah.
It has a different sales pitch.
Yeah, and this was just really subtle and very tasteful on how it was done. And I love Ewan McGregor. Like, he's one of my favorite actors, and it was very refreshing to see him play the Southerner from Alabama. So that was fun.
Yeah. That was fun. It's so funny because he has such a thick Scottish accent. Like hearing him do the Southern accent was a little bit funny at times. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed that too. Keelan, first impressions, man.
First impressions for me. Well, first I want to say he definitely sounded like Mike Myers at a lot of different points.
A little bit, yeah, totally.
Cat in the Hat for a good portion, but for the most part, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. I can't say it's my very first time watching it. I remember very small parts, which just leads me to believe that it has just been that long. Or maybe, like I was saying a little earlier, it could just be I haven't seen it in my like formal adult years, so I haven't had the ability to process it the way I had the ability to process it this time around. And wow, just wow. Like, from trying to figure out, what some of the stories were about to finding out and being able to string and piece it all together and put that rubber band ball together and watch the way it bounced. Just wow. Yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I would have to say that, yeah, it has been a while since I've seen this movie. I say at least 10 years. And the first time I saw it, or maybe the second time, I think I've seen it a handful of times, but I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. But for some reason, I mean, and I understand what the reason is. I'm getting older. But now that I'm older, I definitely see it in a lens that I didn't before. And it hit way harder. It hit way harder than it ever had before. And, we can get into the reasons as to why that is, a little bit further on. But I think a lot of it has to do with just this movie is about mortality. It's about life and death. It's about relationships between sons and fathers. And it's about the stories that we tell about ourselves and the stories that we tell about the ones that we love. And, this sort of tale of a son that resents his father for telling really big, fantastical stories over and over again, only to find out that really the fantastical stories were not necessarily all that fantastical. Most of them were based in a acorn of truth, but he liked to spice them up because it was something captivating for the people that he shared them with. And through those stories, you realize that that is his identity. His identity is the story that he tells to people about, himself in this fantastic life that he had. And there's so many things for me that it brought up, and the way that it talks about the hero's journey, the way it talks about the reconciliation of the father and the son. It's just, there's so many really, like Dijon said, this is not a Tim Burton movie, but it's in my opinion, Tim Burton's best movie. Mm-hmm. And it's because he took something very earnest and subtle, and he made a really beautiful story, and it didn't have to be wacky, and Johnny Depp didn't have to do the Jabberwock dance, there's the way that you get to appreciate Tim Burton's artistic style without all of the, over the top gothicness about everything is really kind of cool. And I definitely appreciate this movie for that. But just to give a brief synopsis, if anybody hasn't seen it, but I would assume that you probably have seen it. If you haven't, listen to this podcast and then go watch it. We're not really spoiling too much, but if you don't mind listening to us talk about it, make sure you do go watch it at the end. But essentially, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I just want to say really quick, I do want to add something for those who aspire to write or are interested in writing or anything of that nature. This movie is essentially the art of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to learn how to write, if you want to learn how to tell a story, dissect this movie, not with an analytical eye, but just as a spectator. It is in plain sight for you. You don't have to work too hard to understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're completely right. In that aspect, is that really did hit a note for me, since back in the day that's what I went to school for, and I just kind of stopped. And this is one of those situations where I'm trying to think, when my wife asked me, won't you continue to keep writing? I was like, well, it's probably an excuse, but it's just one of those things where I always sincerely feel like you can't just force art in any shape or form. If it's a craft is just like anything else you do. Either you lose it or you use it or lose it. You use it or lose it. In this situation with this, I don't think, in a sense of having the idea of art or just building or creating something with, an imagination, I think it's always there, but that inspiration has to come when the time is right. And this movie definitely iterated that, and it was just beautiful. And just, if you have an eye for metaphors and just imagining something, it just brings out the kid in you all over again. It's great.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I definitely agree. And so we'll jump into the things that you guys want to bring up, but I just want to run a quick synopsis if anybody is interested in hearing the elevator pitch. Basically, this movie is about a man named good lord, Edward Bloom.
Edward.
Yeah, Edward Bloom, who grew up in a small town in Alabama and basically built this sort of life for himself that was kind of like I would kind of relate it to like a Forrest Gump style life, but where things are happening that are pretty fantastic, and he's doing all crazy stuff. He's basically the star of his town, and then he realizes that he's just too big for the tiny town that he lives in, and his ambitions and his dreams are much bigger. And so he decides to set off. And the movie goes through his life from setting out from his little hometown to finally marrying the woman that he loves, to having a child. And that child is Billy Crudup's character, the son, who hears his dad's stories all the time because you see this montage of Billy Crudup growing up, and he's getting told the stories that his dad would tell. And as his son gets older, he gets more resentful about the stories his dad tells because he believes that it's not him and that he never really got to know his dad because all he got from his dad were these tall tales. And now we can, I think, jump into the things that you guys want to point out, because there's so much more nuance and it would take me too long to explain all of that stuff. So, Keelan, let's see what did you want to point out first? What did you want to talk about first?
Definitely the story of the big fish, and how that story, from the very beginning, you realize that this is the story of a lifetime, and one of those stories that carry through. And just the continuity that from beginning to end, we were told a story. It seemed as if we got cut off through a story, and then the narrator simply switched. That's all that happened. That's all that happened. We got a new narrator, and it's like, oh, well, I guess I'll tell it the way he would tell it. And I thought just there were so many beautiful sentiments between he and his father, him not realizing, or William not realizing how much of his father was imprinted upon him. And how much he admired his father, even though he was kind of open about that, but in denial in the moments, it seems, before his father getting sick.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's fair. And I think he did kind of resent his father a little bit, just definitely. Because, Edward Bloom is a big character. He's very charismatic. And in his older years, he's played by Albert Finney, who's, I think, is an excellent actor. I thought he really did a good job being that sort of character. And it was actually interesting to me to see the way Albert Finney and Ewan McGregor tried to play the same person. And I thought it fit pretty well, to be honest, because they both carried that same sort of charisma that Edward Bloom has, and so yeah, I think that there's a lot of that, and I think that William really felt like his dad sucked all the air out of the room with his stories. And I guess you can imagine that if you've heard a story a million times, you might roll your eyes the next time you hear it. And I think that this movie really is about like that, the crux of that, this concept that he is kind of over his dad's stories, but then he realizes at the end that the stories are more than just who his dad is. It's like a gift that he's giving to other people,
right?
And something that helps him immortalize himself,
right? I mean, I think of the name of the fish, right? The fish from the story is named the Beast. That immediate to me, I don't know. At first, I was kind of like, the Beast. Like, you don't name a fish the Beast,
right?
Like, something's going on here. But of course, I didn't immediately catch any suggestions as to what they were really getting at here. But excuse me, when you really consider, how do you teach a child? Right? You have to make it entertaining. You have to catch their interest in some way. Whether William liked it or not, he remembered every story. which we'll get to exactly how that plays out and how that works out for him, knowing every story. But he plays, I mean, he knows every story. He remembered that he's sucked these stories in. He's believed these. So he even admits that he thought they were true.
Mm-hmm.
My question would then be, what led him, aside from the repetitiveness, of course, what led him to, what made him start thinking Santa Claus wasn't real?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I kind of was thinking about that a little bit too. I think the closest I could get to is that he resented his father because he felt like the stories got in the way of knowing who his father really was.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of like the biggest thing that he has. Like, you know, he even says it to his dad. He's like, I don't know the you. I want to know the you, the good, the bad. I want to know all of that stuff. And his dad was like, this is who I am. You know, I am being authentic. My authenticity is me making extravagant stories that entertain you. And you know, like, that's the way I shared my love with you, you know?
Yeah. I thought that was beautiful as well. That just the seriousness of that. The realisticness of no, I'm giving you the only way I know how to tell you who I am. I'm giving that to you right in this moment. Yeah,
right.
That was great.
Yeah, and I think that's like a key thing that a lot of people can sincerely relate to, beyond a relationship between a son and father, and maybe son and daughter, mother, father, anything, marriage, friendships. And I think it's just a whole scene where his son came in the terms where, you mean, what do you stop believing the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus? It's a thing of him growing up and trying to find a sense of maturity and the whole idea of what realism is. And the thing is, you can't always just find that because you're growing up. Sometimes you just got to keep that warm fuzziness of what makes you through being a child in your childhood, because it's a part of you. So embrace life for what it is. And I think this whole movie was embracing life with the whole concept of death, kind of battling. But it was just one of those not hashtags. Wow. It's
2021 coming into 2003.
Jesus Christ. This is a year I finally started using hashtags too.
There we go.
It's just one of those things where it kind of transitions from, what is life to what is death, and why just see it on a 2D playing ground where as we come to this part at the end about the whole idea about the big fish and him becoming the big fish, you can immortalize it and you can keep it just going, not through just one person, but through the love you share for so many other people, and you pass it down. And we seen that when he realized that at the funeral, like, holy shit.
Yeah. All
these
the people
are real.
About. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And, he finally get a chance to see his father's life unravel. And the beautiful segment to, that jump is when his son is repeating the story, one of the stories.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and something else to add to that, with the, the different circles, it's like the infection had gotten to everybody. Every circle was telling a different story, no matter who was telling the story. Everyone was in the excitement of the storytelling moment.
Yeah.
And
that
was
really
beautiful.
nice.
Yeah, that was beautiful as well. Excuse me. So what I think is interesting, or something else I wanted to bring up, was the town of Spectre. The town of Spectre. So we see how he meets Carl, and that's how he leaves his hometown, goes through some mystical blah, 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 blah. All really funny stuff, really good stuff.
Oh, by the way, R.I.P. Roy, by the way, from The Office. If you haven't seen Pam's, the guy that was overshadowed by Edward the entire time, and Ashton, he played Pam's fiance in The Office, and then was basically had his girl stolen in The Office too.
Dang, I don't remember that. That's weird.
Yeah, he's typecasting getting his girl stolen.
Yes.
I did enjoy seeing him like Elvis style, taking a shit.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've noticed that. I saw that was definitely a nod to Elvis. It's weird. I do not remember him in The Office. I probably didn't watch enough of it. So yeah, but from there though, they go to Spectre, the town of Spectre. And where did this place come from? Like,
Yeah.
and
It's like a pocket dimension.
right, and then you find out Pleasantville is real.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I really like this concept of Spectre too, because in order to get to Spectre, you have to take this really dangerous road that nobody goes down anymore. And, once he goes through all of the trials of getting through the forest, he finally ends up in Spectre. Right. And it's like this idyllic little town where everybody's barefoot. It's all, like they put the Vaseline on the camera lens to make everything kind of blurry. And so, like that's, to me, that's like a little pocket dimension, because they do mention that when he gets there, he is early. And it's because that's kind of like a heaven of sorts. He was supposed to, right. Like he was not ready. He's not supposed to die, but he gets there anyways. And then when he gets there later on, he's late. And so it becomes like hell. And he has to kind of reconcile the two. Is like, when he got there early, everything was really pretty and idyllic. And then when he got there late, he had to rebuild it in order to make it better.
It's funny because while you're saying that, I'm looking at the background I set for myself. You can see Spectre right there on nice and blooming. And as he got back to it, boom, like what the hell just happened?
Yeah. I think that's a really cool part of the storytelling, because it reminds me of the Isle of the Lotus Eaters in Odysseus and the Odyssey, which is basically like, Odysseus is trying to get home from after the Trojan War, and it takes him like 7 years to get home. And, in his journey to home, he comes across this island where everybody's eating lotus seeds and everybody's having a good time. They're all really stoned and everybody's happy. And it's one of those tropes that they call like the temptation in the hero's journey, where it's like, oh, you could just stop here. If you stop here, then everything's going to be great. But the hero has to press on past the thing that would be good for him immediately in order to get to the thing that he really wants in the end, which is something long-term and sustained, instead of just being satisfied in the moment.
Right. Persephone and the pomegranate.
There you go. Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. I love that type of storytelling too, because it just, there's something archetypal about it. We've been telling these types of stories for thousands of years. And so it's interesting to see iterations of the same story. Yeah,
definitely. So, so anyway, he gets back to Carl. I don't know, but I liked Carl's character. And I liked the little bit of stories we got about I didn't remember the ringmaster's name actually. What was Danny DeVito's
Amos.
name? Amos,
yeah.
The ringmaster. So we didn't get much on Amos, except that one little piece we got, because I realized we kind of got more on Amos than we got on Carl, if we really think about it. But what do you think the werewolf was symbolic of? Like just his attitude, like the kind of,
maybe he
like
was a drunk
kind of,
yeah, he could have been a drunk, or maybe he was doing some unscrupulous things at night.
I thought he was having sex at first.
Yeah,
I thought he was in there with.
I think Mr. Soggy Bottom thought he was having sex too.
I thought that was him and Mr. Soggy Bottom at first getting in.
Oh no.
or some act, one of his female acts or something. But
isn't that the guy that plays the Oompa Loompas?
Yes.
Okay,
so
I knew him from somewhere. Yeah,
that's the Oompa Loompa guy.
Yeah.
I've seen way too many of his interviews.
Which is another Tim Burton movie. So there you go. Yeah.
Oh wow! Right.
Yeah.
I wonder. You know what? Now I'm wondering, did he ever work for anybody other than Tim Burton?
I don't know. It's a good question. I have no idea.
And I do mean him specifically, not all of the.
It's like the question you want to ask about his ex-wife now.
Who's that?
Helena
Bonham Carter.
Bonham Carter. Besides her doing her Harry Potter movies, I'm just like, because most movies I've seen her, I'm like, dude, you're in your husband's movies a lot, but I think they're divorced now.
Yeah.
Look, I would think that comes with the territory. For the record, the guy that plays the Oompa Loompa, his name is Deep Roy.
Oh, okay. Nice.
He's a Kenyan British actor.
Nice. I really liked Helena Bonham Carter in this movie because it's her most subdued role that I've ever seen her in, where she doesn't play a wacky, crazy character. She plays
Crazy
like
bitch.
a real human being. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, doesn't she play a little bit of both? Well, no, you're right, because when she was
She's
playing
not
the
that-
wacky
she
version
was-
of the witch, she didn't have to say
Right.
much.
Right. Exactly. She
It
plays
was-
the witch, but
It was refreshing. I mean,
Mhm.
it was nice. I mean, anything else I've seen her, she played not so wacky or just crazy. She played what was it? I think Ocean
Marla
8.
and
Sweeney
Fight
Todd.
Club.
Fight Club, Alice in
Mhm.
Wonderland.
I've never seen Alice in Wonderland.
Ocean's 8.
It was Ocean 8. That was the other one where I was just like, oh, she's actually decent. She's like this felt fashion dresser or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
just like very fucking like 80, not ADD-ish. Would you say that's ADD-ish? No, just like with a low self-esteem.
Mhm.
But anything else, yeah, fucking wacky, batshit
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah,
or
Right.
just a total bitch.
she's probably
Right.
in the Addams Family or something at one point, I'm sure.
Yeah. She wishes.
And for the record, I
Wishes.
enjoy everything she's ever been in. Like, I just enjoy her as an actress. But
No, I
Yeah.
don't dislike her. I just
No,
like her
I-
in this performance because it's different. You
Mhm.
know.
I agree. I just haven't seen Alice in Wonderland. I've seen her in the Dark Shadows. She played
Mm.
that doctor chick.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you guys think? Yeah. So I mean, like, I really enjoyed Ewan McGregor's performance in this. I thought that he was really good at being like, you know, just kind of like that everyman character, because the way I see Edward Bloom is like you can kind of make him into whatever. He doesn't necessarily have to be like a specific person. He's playing kind of like an archetype. He's playing the archetype of the hero in his own story, basically.
The good guy.
Yeah, the good guy, exactly. And I definitely liked Ewan McGregor's portrayal. I really enjoyed the scene too in the circus when he finally sees God, what's his wife's name? I forget.
Oh man.
Sandra, yes.
Oh, Edward's
Yeah.
wife. Yes, Sandra.
Yes,
That's what we're
yeah.
talking about.
I really I like that scene where, you know, they're in the circus and he sees Sandra from across the circus and everything freezes. And then, you know, he has that thing where it's like, what they don't tell you is that everything speeds up again, right when you're done. Yeah.
That's great. I thought that was one of the better just movie moments.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Like probably one of the only real quote unquote wacky moments we got.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yes,
very
that
Tim
is
Burton, very animated, but it told so much of the story because again, that's that reminder of when you're stuck in the moment in real life. Like everything just seems
Mhm.
perfect in the moment, and then the next thing you know, it's 2 weeks later, and you're like, wait,
Snap and
having
it's
fun?
gone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, wasn't I just having fun and doing this and it's all over?
Right,
So, you know,
right.
time flies when you're having fun. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that was a really good visual representation of that feeling that we all get when we recognize a moment in time, like you said, you know, where we want to hold on to it, but as soon as you try to squeeze it, it's gone. And yeah, I thought that was a really good illustration of that. I also do want to have a shout out to older Edward's joke about the milkman.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny too.
Still one of the best jokes I've ever heard.
Yeah. Or he's like
Your
having the
father
dream
was
that
gonna die.
your
Jeez.
father's gonna die.
Your father's gonna die, and the milkman drops dead on the doorstep.
Right.
What? Because my mom
Yeah.
was banging the milkman. Oh,
Right.
snap.
So that was my daddy.
Right.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I thought that was a really funny one. But you know, like I like the love story in this too, because for some reason it's not only a love story. It's about a lot of other things too. So I think that that's kind of what makes it nice. And I love Jessica Lange too. And they did a really good job about getting a younger looking Jessica Lange. Like the girl that plays young Sandra looks a lot like Jessica Lange. So I thought they did a really good job with that as well.
Yeah. Nice note on that one. I didn't really think about it until you just said it.
Mm.
There was a heavy resemblance.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, had they given her a bob cut, you probably would have been like, "Oh, okay, that was CGI or something." Not no 3, it wasn't.
Right. It's not no 3. Yeah. And that's what I will say about this movie is that there are some parts of it that don't age well, and it's because they do use CGI in it, and unfortunately, CGI from 2003 looks like CGI from 2003. So, but it's not too much that it it screws up your experience.
Yeah, no, it's just like the explosion and I think only like 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, a couple things like the fish.
The
The
lake.
fish is
Yeah, the
obviously
fish lake,
CGI. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna go next to
Mm-hmm.
not okay. So we get past the offense, right? That Edward takes to William not believing his stories,
Yes.
and as soon as he offends his dad, he immediately is in the office cleaning up, and then he finds the deed
Yes.
to the last remaining home in the town of Spectre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how was it that was the only house left before we really dive in? Like, did anybody else think about that? Like,
I think it was just because it was on the outskirts of the town, I guess. But
like maybe the other stuff got bought out.
yeah, like because he bought the main street,
Yeah,
and
he didn't buy the whole town. He made
right,
a strip.
Yeah,
It's like one of those miss. Oh shit! I missed it. Like There Will Be Blood. Like what the hell? I don't miss.
Right. That was Bandy's land. Yeah.
Drainage.
Right. But yeah, I mean, like I really enjoyed a lot of this. There was let's see, what else is in it?
No, you said what else, and I.
Oh, there you go.
Thought about Northern. What's the name? Northerner.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
the
Northern.
Poet?
Yeah.
Northern. So the poet Northern, who, I got out of there and I traveled the world. I went to France and I did that. Oh, what are you doing here? I'm robbing a bank.
Yeah, I'm robbing this.
She's like, I'm
grab the gun. Help me out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it back to my Reservoir Dogs.
That's right. Exactly. He's
Right.
being Mr. Pink right there.
And what's so funny is that was the first thing I thought. I was like, Steve Buscemi had to have a gun in this movie at some point.
Right. Yeah. Why not?
It was in his contract.
Got it. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, I just think that there's so many lighthearted elements to all of it too. Like I just really appreciate the all of the characters, the way the story is told, the amassing of all of the characters along the way, and then like the ending is what really fucked me up. And
before we get to the ending though, I do want to mention there was something else I noticed. Now, ironically, I noticed it's because of the ending, but I didn't want to talk about the ending quite yet. Because of what I noticed was, some of these people helped Edward through his life, but he helped them too.
Mm-hmm.
He helped Amos and Carl kind of both figure themselves out, figure their path.
Mm-hmm.
Carl was, he had somewhere to be, somewhere he was going to be able to be fed and not be a awkward outcast.
Mm-hmm.
Amos in this situation kind of became more human all of a sudden. And I think that's what that was. It was like he realized he didn't have to be this person because somebody who he was treating like total crap was just nice all the time.
Yeah.
Even when he got out of control and his boy was about to put him down, he took a bullet for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized like, oh, that's what wow, you took a bullet for this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you even get to back to
Northern. Yeah.
So as he explains to Northern why the bank was bankrupt and the oil and the real estate and how all of that plays out, that inspires him to go to Wall Street and become a millionaire.
Right. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, and I enjoy those little things where it's like the little things that you can do that can drastically change somebody's life. And the things that you're remembered for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like. And that's what really kind of hit me hard too. It's just this concept of like, you don't really know what it is that somebody's going to remember you for, and it could be the smallest thing that you would never consider. And like I think that's kind of really beautiful, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, got it. And that's why you got to be authentic every day. I mean, every second of the day, man.
There you go.
Authenticity.
Yes.
So and then I guess we can go back to that house deed, Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
And wow. So I thought that was probably the most beautiful story, the way that played out. and starting from the witch, and we didn't really even cover that the witch story of how as a kid they saw you could look through the witch's glass eye and see how you were gonna die, and that's why Edward knew, you know, he could do all these crazy things in life and experience so much because he knew how he was gonna die. And help, this isn't how I go. This isn't how I go. You know, I mean, hey, jump out of an airplane in the military. This isn't.
I could do anything. I know how I die already.
Right. Which I also thought was a great story. It's like, you know what? You only get one life. Like, let go. Let go. Like, go have a little fun. So then going from there and then tying that story with the Spectre, the Pleasantville story of the little girl, little Jenny, which at first, and this is why I wanted to kind of get to that last house and, you know, so we can get to Jenny. I thought Jenny was like a specter herself. Like, I didn't think we were in a town of specter. I thought she was literally a specter that wasn't allowing people to leave.
I thought so too, to be honest.
And then when we come back to her, at first I'm thinking that, and then I realize then I'm thinking like she's the witch, and then I realize as she starts telling the story and she kind of hits that hint like, oh, you thought you think he was having an affair? Like, okay,
you don't think of your father very highly, then, you know,
and that's
like,
exactly it was like you can see it was like, okay, you have an image of him and you don't know who you're. Okay, I still love him, so let me help him out. And that's just the beauty of that, the innocence of Jenny that turned into this seededness, and how that story of Jenny was so important to him that he had to manifest this witch. So that Jenny wasn't necessarily non-existent in his or even in his child's life in reality. You know,
and she even says it, like, you know, the reason I'm the witch is that there are only two women in your father's life, your mother and everybody else. And and so she couldn't get a role in the story, so that he made up a role for her.
That's right. That's right. And
that was very, very beautiful metaphor.
Wow. It was like, wow. Like, okay, like this dude Edward really was the luckiest guy in the world. He had two. And that's not even like, as far as, just for the record, not as far as like, you know, the whole male fantasy of having two women. Like, no, not two women, like two loves, two people who genuinely cared about his well-being and when, all of that. That's unique.
Big time.
And that's where the Jenny character, for me, that's why I wanted to talk about that abandoned house, because
that's great.
And again, just Jenny being the witch, the little girl, and the last house on the left, basically.
And she's tied to the finality of the story, because she's tied to Edward knows how he's going to die, but interestingly enough, he's never told that story to his son.
Right.
And, you know, then we find out why.
Well, it's his son's story to tell. That was
can't, man. I can't. I can't do it again.
All right.
I bawled like a baby, dude. I bawled like a baby. You know, like
you guys got extra tears.
Yes.
Oh, definitely.
No judgment here.
I got the open mouth. You can feel the pain in the back of the throat cry.
Right. I know. I was just sitting there like, oh, I can't hold it back anymore. And, you know, like it's just really that moment, because, you know, for those of you who are watching, like the last bit of the movie is Edward is dying, and his son William has to go to him at the hospital. And before Edward dies, he wants his son to tell him how he dies. And initially William's like, I don't really understand. And then he's like, you know, then Edward gets really upset, and it's like, you know, William's like, okay, I'll try. And so then his son starts telling this story of how he busts his dad out, and they get into his old, you know, a red Camaro, and they zip down the town, and like the giant is there and it helps them get through traffic, and they're zooming through the town to get to the river because he wants to be in the river. And as soon as, you know, they get to the river, everybody that he knows is there waiting for him. And it's just it's a very beautiful cinematic scene, and it's cool because it's his son finally embracing the storyteller, and him finally being the storyteller himself. And for that to be like the last thing you get to see as a father is your son finally, embracing the thing that you've been trying to get him to do your whole life.
Right.
Like that's got to be a tremendous way to exit life. So
Definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. There was from validation and qualification of who his father was to that moment. I mean, what better way to
send him
find
off?
To find out what you wanted to know and to do right by your parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in a respectful way.
Yes. And so, his son in this story is rushing him down to the bottom to the river where his wife is waiting in the river, kisses his wife, and then his son drops him into the river and he becomes the fish. Becomes the fish from the beginning of the story. And
now, I really quick, with him kissing his wife, taking off his ring, giving his wife the ring. It takes me to the kind of the beginning of William's story when he's telling a story about how he takes the fish and pops the ring out of the fish's mouth.
Yeah.
Well, that was that ironically enough is weird. That was almost the same thing as
that's what he did.
William was doing.
Yeah.
So
he pops the ring right out of his mouth.
Right. Hands it off to the wife.
Yeah.
She's the big fish that he caught. He's the new big fish going into the water, and they just popped the ring out of his mouth. It was just so much symbolism, and it's like, am I supposed to catch that? Am I reaching too hard? No,
you're not. Yeah, that's what we call good storytelling, like Dejan said. And this is this is why I really enjoy doing this show too, because and I'm gonna poo-poo modern movies right now. Modern movies aren't doing this. Modern movies aren't making me cry like a baby. You know what I mean? And, I'm not doubting that there are some great modern movies out there, but there's a next level of storytelling that I think we're missing right now. And this movie to me exhibits that level of storytelling that I think most of us are really craving.
Yeah, for sure. And I sincerely agree with you. And it's annoying, but it's like modern day the movie, well, just the entertainment industry altogether. It's like modern day music. Everybody's trying to gurgitate some bullshit.
Yeah.
And we don't see it enough. Most Academy Award movies, Oscars movies are just like, meh,
depressing.
And
buddy films, you mean?
Yeah, for sure. Or movies that have an interesting concept and just fucking fall flat. Like, what was the fucking purpose? I got a handful of fucking movies I've seen like that within the last 3 years, man.
Oh yeah.
Then we're saturated with, fucking directors. Oops, my bad. Directors and shit.
The aliens
and
are
writers.
coming.
As my wife would say, people with big mufflers just expressing their tiny dicks.
Fair. That's very fair.
What do you call it? And you just get this whole thing. Fuck, train of thought just gone.
Sorry, man, I derailed you there. We were talking about modern movies and all, and basically how
you've only seen 3 in the last couple of years.
No,
you've seen 3 the exact same movies. That's like that.
It's just bullshit. It's bullshit. Everybody's trying to cater to an agenda or what's politically correct, and it's just not there, and it doesn't help.
Sure.
So
it steals the art.
Yeah, and I can get and also not understand the bitching of old Hollywood heads for cinema, and where it's not only cinema is just really shooting the shit for comic book based shit. It's going from the movies to the TV series, and you know what? cinema is going to have its different genres, and the superhero, the comic book game is definitely now its own new genre, and that's what we're going to see. People are going to be lazy. It's goes back 2 years ago when I used to hang out at a comic book shop, seeing a Sony producer walk in numerous times and just always flip through fucking comic books and ask
buy
these
nothing.
very
And buy nothing.
sometimes these guys would buy shit, but the first thing they want to know, they ask these very stupid, straightforward ass questions like, you think if this was a TV show or a movie that, you know, this would be like a big budget or this and that? And
Isn't that your job, bro?
Wow. Right.
To figure that out?
I'm gonna need some consultation fees.
Right.
I'm sorry. I've worked for a lot of people in the industry or just the business in general. The stupid fucking questions I hear these guys say and just how obliviously ignorant they are on how shit should work. And I'm like, why are you in this business? And do you know what the fuck you're producing or writing? And it sucks.
Yeah, most people.
And-
I don't think a lot of people cared that much.
and we don't get shit that really hits the home like this when
Mhm.
it's either a passion project or it's something that's not backed up by a big brand like a big name
Right.
company.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be an indie story, you know.
Yeah, oh, it has to be in the indie
Yeah.
budget too. I do want
Right.
to say one thing though, similar to Dope, but I do
Yes.
want to say the difference between even modern music, no matter how trash it is, and the modern movies. The modern movies are hardly even writing new scripts; they're just taking old scripts. Like it's even worse than how they take 4 bars of an old song, and then at least the next 60 bars are all fresh and new.
Mm.
And that's really all I had. Like if there's 64 bars in a song, probably 32 of them, if you get 4 hooks, about 32 of them are recycled because they've been, pulled from somewhere else.
Mm.
But at least a good portion of them, half of them maybe.
Yeah, I kind of take it. Oh, go ahead, Dijon. Sorry. Yeah.
I'm gonna say it's true. And going back to watching an interview for the guys that did the Incredibles series with Pixar, they were just like, in 2018, the second one finally came out, and they were like, well, why did it take almost 14 years for this movie to come out? And they were just saying, well, the superhero game is really hot right now.
It's very saturated.
Yeah, and they're like, you know what? I guess we finally decided we wanted to do this, and thank God that everybody that was able to come do the first one are back to do the second one for voice acting. And it's just we came to this conclusion where our story was going to talk for itself. It's nothing new, and it also can be something old, but it is our story to tell, and we're going to take the story for what it is to make it, stand out more than anything else that's out there.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think that that's kind of what I gleaned from your commentary, Dijon, too, is that, and in relation to the music, it's like maybe they aren't just copying everything, but it's, a lot of it becomes uninspired and kind of cookie cutter and, like a template that you can follow in order to get a hit. Now, we all know like the 4 chords that, every freaking pop song uses, like, so, but yeah, I definitely get that. And I think that this is a testament, this film is a testament to just very good storytelling that doesn't need to be like a $200 or $200 million movie. You know what I mean? Like this didn't, I'm sure that the budget for this wasn't 200 million, but I could check, I'm sure. But
stop making fun of Black Widow, man.
I mean, no offense, Miss Johansson. Please don't sue me.
I mean perfect offense. How the fuck your solo movie costs $200 million and the
for
Avengers
one person?
for one person, and you were a fucking exclusive producer, knowing your fucking contracts and the possibility, and knowing already. I just think, hey, I already knew the game. Let me just sue, even though I already knew it was going to be a breach of contract. And you went along with it.
That's called good business right there. You set the opposition up. You make as much money off of them as you can, and when the ship starts going down, you make sure that you take your first swing at the engine.
Even though you agreed to your ship to continue to go down, like, yeah, I already know. Yeah, why not do that?
Wells Fargo, AT&T, you know.
Oh, okay. Let's see. So Big Fish made or
it made like 130, no?
Yeah, it made around 123 million, and it was budgeted at 70. So it wasn't actually a very big success, to be honest.
Wow, yeah.
Which I kind of find disappointing, to be honest. But again, this is in the heyday where movies were actually really good,
right?
And
I can see this getting overlooked. I was
yes,
high school.
Exactly.
I would never be interested in this in high school.
Right.
Exactly. Well, without in 2003, we were looking at shit like Blade 2, Blade 3.
Right.
Wow, right?
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2.
Avengers and all that had just started.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that
and the N1 mixtape still existed. Sorry, but I just had to say that the N1 mixtape was still out too. So I watched way less movies back then. Watched way more street ball.
Gotcha. That makes sense. But yeah, I think that we can probably wrap this up. I did really like like Keelan mentioned before, the funeral scene where you see all of the pockets of people telling stories, and like that's really a beautiful thing. I think I've said beautiful too many times in this review, but I really did enjoy that as well. I thought that was a nice little touch to kind of express the immortality of a being or a person through storytelling, and like seeing that his spirit carried on through the stories. Yeah.
And I don't, as you said a little earlier, that he will be immortalized essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, obviously you see Billy Cudrup's son telling the stories to his friends in the pool many years later. So it's cool. It is cool. It's very cute. It's yeah.
Now, do you think this is a nod to we should stop selling our family history?
Yeah, well, we should stop doing that, but maybe it was just a very ahead of its time. But yeah, let's jump into our final reviews, guys. Who wants to take this one? I know that Dijon did say 8.5 already, so if you want to expound upon that, Dijon, you can.
I think that's it. Yeah, definitely. Let's give it an 8.8. I'm gonna watch this movie again. I'm gonna watch this movie again.
Mm-hmm.
You can watch it again. You can watch it again.
You can watch it again and again.
I'm thinking of so many things in my head right now, and I apologize for the mixture of words.
It's easy to get tongue-tied, especially when you're doing a podcast. Mm-hmm. It's like almost exclusively I only get tongue-tied when I'm on a podcast.
or for me when I'm in my personal office. Before the podcast, getting all that out. I give it 8.8. I'm definitely probably most likely to watch this tonight again.
Nice.
Yeah. I think that's wonderful. 8.8 is a solid score.
So something I would definitely want to watch with my wife soon. And I would I'll probably go buy this physical. I'll probably get like a DVD or Blu-ray just to keep it stacked up. And as my son gets older, it's something I can watch with him.
Definitely.
I like that you said that, because I can honestly say maybe our last 4 selections, I would definitely own a hard copy of.
Yeah. I think that's fair. Let's see. Will I say I'm not Gunpowder Milkshake?
You know what? I would.
The others, yes.
Okay, you know what? No, not a hard copy. I would watch it again, but not a hard copy.
Right. Gotcha.
You BitTorrent that, right? You flash drive.
BitTorrent, yeah. Now I would definitely say that to a flash drive. There we go.
Or what is it? External hard drives now.
Put it on the cloud. Make sure I got it.
All right, cool. Keelan, you want to go?
You want me to do this now? You sure?
Do it.
Sure, man. Go for it.
I'll sip while you do it.
The floor is yours.
So I'm sorry to say that I have nothing to complain about. There's nothing that
I smell a 10. I smell it straight up. Motherfucking 10. The first fucking 10.
Yes, 1000%. You smell it. It has been cooking, sizzling on the grill. I finally took the lid off, and
that shit is
whiff
marinating.
That was hitting you. I'm about to throw some on the plate, throw some on everybody's palate. It is getting a perfect score because to my knowledge, so from my experience with this, and it made me drip tears, not just cry. I dripped water from my face. This is a perfect movie, so it has to get a perfect. So it definitely was not sweat. Definitely was not sweat. If I got sweat in my eyes, they would have burned. This did not burn. This was relieving.
Right. Right.
So yeah, definitely a perfect score for a perfect movie.
Sheesh. All right. Man. That's history making right there.
Yes, indeed.
Honestly.
Someone got dethroned tonight.
Yeah, somebody did big time. Yeah. Because I think I might have to agree with you, man. I can't find anything really to critique about this movie. I don't know if it's because actually, no, there's just nothing to critique. There really isn't. I think the direction is really good. I think all of the acting roles are done very well. Mm-hmm. I love the scene with Jessica Lange and Albert in the bathtub. Yes. I thought that was so fucking heartbreaking, dude. Like, that shit fucked me up so hard.
It was real. It was so real. You didn't see her going that way. You just saw them sitting there having a nice little funny moment, and next thing you know, she crying.
Yeah. And you see where Batman versus Superman fucked that up with Clark Kent and fucking Lois Lane trying to be in that shot. That's where
that's true. That is so true.
You know what? You guys are smart. Let's just do this shit. Let's just have a fucking perfect 30 tonight.
I'm down.
Okay, there we go.
That's what it is, guys. We're giving it 10s across the board. Honestly,
they're number one. They're number one.
Wait till we review fucking Christopher Robin.
Christopher Robin.
Oh, really? Is that one a tearjerker too? Because I can feel like it is.
I don't know. Yeah. I've been putting that on the back burner.
Are we talking about the live action?
The live action.
Okay. Yeah. I want to see that so bad. And you know
I'm
what?
sure it's a tearjerker too.
The trailer for that was just what you bringing that up. The trailer for that is actually when I first realized that Ewan McGregor reminds me of Mike Myers.
Yeah,
that was when for real. The trailer for Christopher Robin is when I first realized it. When I
think it's like the shaggy hair look, to be honest.
You guys think of that? I always think of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, of course. Hello there. Wow. Well, I think we just made screen time continuum history. By giving a movie a perfect score of 30 out of 30, which is a 10 out of 10, guys. A 10 out of 10 for Big Fish. If you guys haven't seen it, please go check it out. It's wonderful. It's on Hulu. It was on HBO, by the way, and then they took it off apparently. So don't go looking on HBO because I was looking for it and it wasn't there. I was like, what the hell happened to it?
Hulu and Amazon Prime, and that's how I knew about what's her name,
Miley
Cyrus, because I paused it and I'm like,
the X-ray.
The X-ray
on Amazon.
And it's great. You guys, if you guys ever rewatch it, do it because they were like, oh, there's some Monty Python references in there as well.
Oh, cool.
I could see that too.
Nice.
Wow.
Mainly related to the Giant.
And
right.
What's interesting about that, just you saying that, I prefer to watch anything, especially when we have to research it. I always look on Amazon Prime first just because of the X-ray feature.
It is a really cool feature.
Right. Like you'll watch a movie, you'll watch a 2-hour movie for 5 hours, just pausing it and researching.
Yeah, that's true, right? That is true. Yeah. It definitely doesn't make for quick watching, but accurate watching. That's for sure.
Look at that. Shameless plug. Yeah, Amazon Prime has got that for us.
Yeah. Well, there you have it, folks. Big Fish gets a 10 out of 10 from the Screen Time Continuum team. I think that is a certified fresh from Screen Time Continuum right there. So yeah, I mean, do you guys have anything else you wanted to say before we wrap up? Anything you wanted to add?
I appreciate you guys. I am not going to ruin this perfect episode about a perfect movie, a perfect score. Perfection ends like that way.
That's it. Dijon, you good?
Yes.
Yes. All right, cool. We're good. All right, let's do our wrapping up here. Thank you guys so much for listening. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to listen to us talk about movies, and it means a lot to us. So thank you very much. Please consider giving us a thumbs up and a subscription to our YouTube page. Visit us at Thinkering Talks on Facebook if you want to catch the collection of podcasts that we have there, not just Screen Time Continuum, but if you're into numbers, if you're into statistics, if you're into versus battles of things that you want to consider, check out Keelan's podcast, If Numbers Could Talk. It's on at Tuesday night at 6 p.m. And he's always trying to give you the straight facts and straight numbers about conflicting ideas and topics, whether it's sports, whether it's cars. You just did a car episode, whether it's movies. Please go check him out. If Numbers Could Talk, Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. He's also on the Thinkering Talks page, but he's got a Facebook page and a YouTube page. Make sure you give him some love. We got the mustard. He's doing his thing over on Twitch, Strawberries and Coffee, on Tuesday and Thursday night at 10 p.m. And he's been live streaming. What the heck is it? Shadow of the Damned? Is that what it's called? Shadow of the Damned.
I am almost done with that shit.
He is almost done. It's been like 8 or 9 episodes. So you got a lot to catch up on if you want to go check him out. He's a great watch. He's always bringing up new games that, as Keelan and I have said, I've never heard of, so it's always cool to see a new game that I've never seen before. And it's very entertaining. So please go check him out on Twitch, Strawberries and Coffee, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 p.m. And then the next day on YouTube, Strawberries and Coffee. You can catch all of the streams that he's done on that YouTube page. So please be sure to check him out. I got a podcast coming on Monday and Friday called Exofathom. We just finished an episode about Havana syndrome on Monday, which was pretty fun and interesting. And so if you're interested in mysteries, unsolved mysteries, philosophy, a little bit of mythology, please go check out Exofathom Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. We have a Facebook page and a YouTube page, but you can check us all out on Thinkering Talks on Facebook. All of our stuff is there. And please just consider giving us some love, giving us some feedback. Let us know what you want to see from us. And just thank you so much. But if you're a purist and a movie head and just want to hear us talk about movies and critique things for which we have no credentials, thank you for taking this trip through the Screen Time Continuum with us. For Screen Time Continuum, I am Nick.
I am Keelan.
I'm the mustard.
Good night, everyone.